Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Focus on Liberia. This is a special edition of Focus on Liberia. We are doing a post-June 7 protest analysis. Stay tuned. With me in studio has my co-host is the Honorable Representative of District Number 2, Mr. J. Nabeslaw, journalist and a political commentator. Co-host, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'm happy to be at the global headquarters of Focus on Liberia. I've participated from Liberia and from New Jersey twice. This is my first time at the global headquarters, and I'm glad to be here, especially to share this platform with two of Liberia's youngest and brightest minds, Mr. Garguah and Mr. Sieh. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
We are excited to have you in studio, Honorable Slaw, and our guest this afternoon in this special edition of Focus on Liberia. I have Mr. Robert Glickman Garguah Jr. from Atlanta, Georgia.
Thank you, sir.
Robert, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you. It is such a privilege to be here again. I think I was a guest on your show back, I think sometime last year or so. And it is such an honor to be here today. So I look forward to discussing the protests and other issues. Thank you.
And Mr. Garguah is a humanitarian. He's a co-founder and CEO of Me1C2 Live Folk Foundation. He's the vice president of the Liberian Association of Metropolitan Atlanta, that's LAMA. That's our own community organization. He also an advocate for educational reform. Once again, Mr. Garguah, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thanks for having me.
Also participating right now, he's in the nation's capital where he went yesterday for protest, Mr. Ansony Sieh. Ansony, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, Dennis Jara, for having me. It is my almost pleasure to be here. I follow your show. And to be a guest today, chosen among many bright minds, I am more than honored. I did not see this coming. I hope I will not disappoint you and your audience. I'm happy.
Thank you so much. Mr. Sieh is the Chief Secretariat Officer of the Movement for Justice in Liberia. He's also the National Coordinator or the former National Coordinator of CDC USA. That's the ruling party, the Congress for Democratic Change USA. He's the former national coordinator. He's also a war crimes court advocate. Mr. Sieh, once again, we are glad to have you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And you are calling from the nation's capital, DC, where you went yesterday for protest. But before we get to that, you are the secretariat of the Movement for Justice in Liberia. That's a relatively new group. Tell me about that group in few sentences, if you don't mind.
You are quite right. It's a very new organization on the block. We are an advocacy organization. We advocate for all the ills that undermine our society, specifically in Liberia. Our primary objective is our thirst to see that justice is served in Liberia after a bloody civil war that ravaged everything that has to do with our country, Liberia. And so our goal is to see that the War Crime Court is established and that warlords are persecuted so that justice can be served. We believe that using justice as a foundation for reconciliation and development will do Liberia more good than bad. Yes, the group was funded immediately after a protest in New York last year, 2018, at the United Nations headquarters. Having participated in the group, in the protest, we then got together after that and felt that we needed to formalize our quest to see justice in Liberia. So that's how come the Movement for Justice idea came about. We formalized it. We have a website, we have leaderships, we have structures in place, we are recognized in the United States, we are registered. And so, yeah, it's a new institution on the block, and we have made significant contributions since we started. We were in the office of the Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, just this year, and deliver a powerful petition. We also sent another petition to the U.S. Senate. All these petitions are asking the U.S. government to help us establish a war crime court in Liberia. And not only that, to help us hold the Liberian government accountable on corruption, bad governance, and all of the things that are disgracing our country and undermining the image of our country. It is a new organization, and I'm more than happy to be part of it.
Thank you so much. And once again, ladies and gentlemen across the globe, we want to say welcome to Focus on Liberia. This afternoon, our discussion is on a postmortem that we're going to perform on yesterday's protest in Monrovia. Again, I have with me in studio Mr. J. Slaw. He's a former boss of the Liberian News Agency. He's the current representative from District Number 2. He's a political commentator, District Number 2 in Sino County. And we want to welcome all of you. We're going to be opening our phone lines after a few minutes, but we want to do an analysis of this show. So we want to say welcome, get set, and let's do it. All right, so let me start with my guest co-host, Mr. Slaw. First, we want to talk about, this is a post-June 7th. Mr. Slaw, I want you to kick the ball rolling as to what happened yesterday. Just give us a brief synopsis of what took the events of yesterday, and we can get our guests involved so that we can discuss all the analysis and everything in between.
Well, yesterday, the much talked about June 7th came, and to the utmost surprise of some of us, and to the credit of both the government and the organizers of the protests, it went peacefully. I mean, I give it up to the government and to the organizers and even the marchers themselves. As far as public information is concerned, there was no incident. I'm proud of Liberia. That shows that our democracy is growing. The history of political demonstrations in Liberia did not give some of us the courage to believe that what happened yesterday was going to be possible. I mean, peaceful demonstration. I salute all of them, both the government, who did not do anything to cause confusion, and to the marchers themselves who did who carried the day within the confines of the law. I salute all of them, and may God bless them.
Mr. Robert Garguah, I know you watch the protests and you follow it from afar here in the United States. As far as you're concerned, what did you hear? What did you see yesterday? What did happen? And what can you tell us about the events of yesterday?
Well, I think that the representative, I concur with him. The protest was well attended. I can tell you that before the protest, you know, I just recently returned from Liberia, about 2 weeks now, just returned from home. And while I was home, I talked to a lot of people who were afraid that something, you know, something terrible could have happened, or it could have possibly turned into something else, given our history when it comes to protest. Matter of fact, I know some folks who actually left the city and went close to the airport. Some folks went to Firestone just to be close on that side, just in case something happened. But I was one person who was very optimistic that this protest, you know, was going to be peaceful, and it was going to end with nothing crazy happening, and Liberians actually show something that I think we can all be proud of, given our history when it comes to protests and violence. And so what I saw was Liberians stepping up and making their voices heard. As you know, I have a lot of reservations about the protests prior to the protest, and those reservations remains about the some of the key voices that are leading the protest. But Liberians expressed some serious concerns as it relates to the economy, as it relates to corruption, and I think that it is important that the government listen. But overall, I'm glad that the organizers did a great job. The protesters were very disciplined. And I want to say this though, that the Liberian National Police exhibited the highest level of professionalism yesterday, especially the Inspector General. He was very involved and making sure that the protest was peaceful and the protesters were provided the accorded security.
Thank you. And we're going to dive more about on the protest. Let me go to you, Mr. Ansony's Sieh in DC. I understand you are in DC because you participated in a protest that was held concomitant with the one in Monrovia. Tell me what happened in DC yesterday and why you were there.
Thank you. Yes, in Washington, DC, the nation's capital, the most powerful capital on the face of the earth, Liberians from across the United States have gathered to march in solidarity with our brothers and sisters in the homeland. We started at the Liberian Embassy here in Washington, where I am currently. When we had gathered, we marched to the White House. From the Liberian Embassy to the White House is about an hour and 30 minutes walk. We mustered the courage. We walked that distance. We were sweating profusely for justice. We were sweating profusely for accountability. We were sweating profusely to send a message to the world that what is ongoing in our homeland is something that deserves not only the attention of our leaders in Liberia, but also the leaders in the United States and around the world. And so, yes, Josh, we marched to make a statement that Liberia is on a trajectory that is very worrisome. And so our effort was to call a serious attention to what is unfolding in the homeland. Yes, we arrived at the White House. Yes, we were able to submit a petition. And yes, we also walked back another hour and 30 minutes to the embassy, where we read our petition to the Liberian ambassador here in Washington. Again, our march, our protest was in solidarity with the protest, the June 7 protest organized by the Council of Patriots in Liberia. We felt the need to identify with our brothers and sisters. We feel their pains. We know how the economy is tough. We know how they are finding it difficult to find daily kids. And we felt that the best way to identify with them in the times of economic distress was to show up in Washington, D.C. and march while they do Haggadah, and also march for the government of Liberia to be petitioned and also to hear their grievances. And so that's why we were there. It was successful. We had a very huge attendance. It was impressive. And I'm very glad to be part of that. It's a good thing. This is one thing we should learn, John. Elected officials will never hold themselves accountable. No, it is true. Our form of government shows that there are 3 branches, dual coordinates, but checkmate each other to provide checks and balances. Historically, that has not been working in Liberia. And so it is about time that we Liberians, if we want for our democracy to flourish, to ensure that we citizens, when we elect our elected official, our responsibility, our rights, and our roles don't stop right there by electing them. I will argue here that our rights, our responsibilities, and our roles begin the very day, the very moment we elect the elected officials. Only us, in my opinion, can hold these people accountable. And the way we can do that is enshrined in the Constitution. So that's why we did. The Constitution gave us the right as citizens to march, to protest, to assemble, and petition our government. And that's what it was all about. The courage Liberians mustered yesterday to have shown up in numbers, despite the intimidation tactics by the Liberian government, to discourage them, to sway them away from gathering something that is their right, something that I will argue also it is their responsibility and role as citizens in that particular democracy. For them to have done that despite the intimidation tactics, it gives me so much hope that today I feel alive as a Liberian. And so it was a piece of history that we can all be proud of and will continue to forever remember. We will reference it just as Americans continue to reference the march that was organized by Martin Luther King, just as many people around the world continue to reference the march that was organized and led by Muhammad Gandhi in India. So yes, it was necessary, it was the right thing to do, and I'm glad that it was very peaceful and that it was orderly, and that all the arguments that there was never going to be a peaceful protest, those who argue should find another argument. I think Liberians are trying to turn on the switch of not being timid anymore. I think the switch of timidity is now being turned off. Liberians are getting conscientized. I'm grateful to our social media that we all use to communicate and share these pieces of information with our friends in Liberia. And I think—
Thank you, Ansony. Thank you, Ansony. And we're going to delve more into that. We want to talk about now the purpose as I bring on my co-host, journalist Law.
Well, again, I was not part of the planners, so I will not know the purpose, but from listening to Brother Ansony, he said the protest was intended to call the attention of the government and the international community to some ills in the society. At which, since we still have some time, he could come and say whether or not, by his own benchmarks, whether the protest was successful. Yes, people were in the streets. There was no disturbances and all of that. But I'm sure there was a purpose just beyond marching.
Right.
Whether they achieved that, I don't know yet.
Okay.
So, yeah.
We're going to go back to our guys.
Garguah has been so silent and so attentive. Let me use that word.
Right.
I'm
So,
listening.
Mr. Garguah, what was
Yes,
the
sir.
purpose? And that's the question we're about to answer now. And we have our callers and people on Facebook already answering that question. What was the purpose of the protest? And if you know the purpose, was it successful or not? That's the big question. Let me start with you, Mr. Garguah.
Well, I will speak the language of the representative. I was not part of the planner, so I'm not exactly sure on the purpose. I can only assume that, like my friend stated, the purpose was to call to attention the government with regards to the issue, the struggle of the people. I believe that there are critical issues that are concerning, especially when it comes to the economy. Uh, I'll be the first one to say that yes, this administration inherited a broken economy from the past administration, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf administration. And I've said on and off the record that it will only take a matter of time that excuse has to be thrown out the window, right? Because the longer George Weah stays in office, this economy becomes his economy. So we can no longer argue that yes, the government inherited a broken economy. The question is, this is your economy now, Mr. President. So what is your plan? What's the strategy? What are you going to do to address or remedy some of the issues, the economic issues that we are faced with? The hike in the U.S. rate, the increase in commodities, and all of these different issues. And so I think I will assume that that was a part of the purpose of the protest. I wish you had one or two of the planners on this show to actually specifically answer that question. But I will only assume those are some of the issues that I heard from Liberians yesterday. Now, was the protest successful? I think it's important. In order for us to conclude or reach that decision, we have to be very careful. Do we define success of the protest by the number of protesters, right? Do we define success of the protest by the number of coverages, right? I overheard some of our friends who are planners of the protest talked about the number of international coverage that we got yesterday. Of course, CNN was covered, Fox News covered, BBC covered. So do we define success by that as well? Do we define success by people just dancing in the streets and songs geared towards the government? Or do we define success by specific issues that was meant to be addressed to the government for actions? Now, if I was defining the success of a protest, I would say that the fact that it was peaceful, that's one success. The fact that it was well attended, that could be a success. But the overall success, I don't think from my perspective was achieved. This protest, if about the people, and this is where my reservation comes from, because I've always said that yes, we have some issues, but there are key voices of the protest of the Council of Patrons that gives me a lot of worry, where I believe that this is more about self-interest than about the people. But there are indeed real issues that Liberians are faced with, and I think the government has to address. And so I would have expected that the petition would have been presented yesterday. I think that would have cemented the success of the protest, because we would have heard what some of the requests were, what some of the issues that are concerning to them were, and we would have gotten on a path of action, because it is important to not only put people in the streets, it's important for us to get to the issues. What are the issues? What are the demands? And what actions are needed from the government so that we'll move our country forward? And so if I was defining success in that light, I would say that it was successful given the fact that it was a peaceful protest, but was a peaceful protest without the petition being presented, without us knowing what the core issues are, so that we can not only discuss it, but we can see what actions the government would take.
Mr. Sieh, the peaceful nature of the protest was achieved, no argument. I said it already. Did you actually present a statement to the Liberian ambassador? That's one. What was his response? And on the Monrovia end, did anybody receive a copy of your statement from the protesters?
Thank you for that brilliant question. I think the first portion of the question was, what was the purpose of the protest? And I'm sorry that I able to jump to that earlier, that the purpose of the protest was to call the government attention to the issues, the economic hardship, the massive corruption, the arrogance, and the incompetence of the Liberian government to the government itself. To inform the government that you are incompetent, to inform the government that you are not listening to your employers, to tell the government that you are not prioritizing what you need to prioritize, meaning the people. And on that basis, I will tell you, yes, the purpose of the protest was achieved. And nonetheless, to the purpose of the protest was to also inform the international community that our government as a people has refused to listen to us, instead continue to demonstrate sheer arrogance in the face of the people. Many times we cry on the government to do those things that will move the economy forward. They refuse. They call us names. And so we needed to make or send out a message to them, not only them, but also to the international community. Like Robert was saying earlier on talking about the variables that he listed as success, yes, it was a success because the international community heard us. They heard us through all the international, not only international media, but powerful media institutions, institutions that the world leaders read and listen to. They heard us. CNN carry, Al Jazeera carry, the Washington Post, the Bloomberg, all of these institutions carry it. So yes, for the purpose of the protest, it was achieved. The government heard us, the international community heard us. Now, you said also whether a petition was delivered. I will say to you, the petition was on hand to be delivered or to be presented. But based on the arrangement with the government and the organizers of the protest, the vice president was designated by the president, according to the Liberian government, is through its information minister, that Joel Howard Taylor was designated to receive the petition from the organizers. Unfortunately, we heard later why the organizers were waiting for the vice president to appear to receive the petition from her employers. She did not show or incited reasons of illness. That was a slap in the face of the Liberian people in this respect. She can claim to be sick. You can't be sick at the 11th hour. I take zero exception to that. And that is why the petition was not delivered, because the government did not live up to the agreement that they reached with the Council of Patriots. At the level of the embassy here in Washington, D.C., we, the US base that went, the ambassador was not served a copy. We did not serve him a copy for so many reasons. Like I said earlier, our protest in Washington, D.C. was in solidarity with the one that were organized in Liberia. And so we were acting in unison. If our team in Liberia did not present a petition, we needed not to do that. We felt that was a just decision. Another reason why we did not give our petition, because the ambassador demonstrated sheer arrogance. The ambassador, we communicated with him formally. We FedEx a letter that was delivered. He did not reply us to acknowledge the time we asked for to deliver our petition. And at some point, he refused that. He was not even coming outside to meet us. We told him, look, we are your employer, you serve us, and so you must come out. His behavior shows that he's not a seasoned diplomat. And so when he came out, for courtesy's sake, we read the petition to him, because we didn't want to be disrespectful as he was. And so that was the reason. And interestingly, let me tell you, the ambassador, later on, we made some calls and realized that he had instructed his secretary to respond to our communication to acknowledge that, yes, you are being available at 12 noon, but we did not receive that communication. But we are yet to get an apology from the ambassador. We did not deserve to be treated that way. And so to conclude with the answer of the question, yes, the protest was a success because there are so many ways you can look at success in terms of protest. The massive attendance was a huge success because the government did everything in its power to intimidate our people not to appear. And the coverage.
You have said that. Two quick questions before Dennis comes in. Is your movement for justice in Liberia a member of the Council of Patriots? One. Two.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
The second question is, now that your statement did not reach official hands, is that it? Is this whole thing over now? Are you satisfied?
No, we are not satisfied, and I doubt that we will be satisfied anytime soon. And the reasons are simple, because the primary purpose for this protest remains that Liberia is in trouble economically and politically in terms of governance. You know, you are a seasoned gentleman I have followed. You know the issues. Liberia is not going anywhere anytime soon under this leadership, given what we all know. But to your question, we will not be satisfied anytime soon. The petition was not delivered because of the sheer arrogance that the government did show to us.
So you still want to present it?
Yes.
Another protest?
Yes, another protest. The organizer of the protest made it clear that the protest was planned to go on for several days. We had day one. Day two will be announced tomorrow, from what I listened to from Darius DeLong, who is the chief spokesperson of the Council of Patriots. They will have a press conference tomorrow and they will announce the next action. In that press statement, he said that they will announce to the world what will be the next action, and that the Council of Patriots will not be protesting on Monday. So Monday there will be no protest, and they will are making negotiation to give the petition to the government. But here's the thing also, though. Let me say to you, the petition was intentionally leaked. It is possible. It happens. The petition was intentionally leaked, so the government cannot claim that they do not have the petition. But yes, and for formality, yes, we will give the petition to them at a formal program when that one is decided. Yes, the petition will be given to them. But for the ambassador,
I see Robert smiling. Something. Okay, before I get to Robert, you said one of your objectives was to call the attention of the international community to what your situation was. What do you want from the international community specifically?
What we want for the international community to know, we have already succeeded in making them to know. And the international community also informed us about the things that we have decided to make them to know. One, our government. The government of Liberia is corrupt. And corruption is a cancer that we all must fight collectively if we want to have a country, if we want to have a democracy. We must fight that. The international community is aware, and we made that known to them. Silently, frustratingly, disgracingly also, our government stole money from the international community, from the donors' account, and they were able to inform our government formally in a joint letter from 9 diplomatic heavyweights. So that was one of the things that we were able to lay out in that petition, the international community have a copy and they are aware. They are in Liberia. You are well aware that they are in Liberia. They have embassies in Liberia. But again, as our responsibility, we were able to inform them and they have copy of our petition. The Liberian government has a copy also, but we will do it formally as we're planned to. The reason why it did not happen was because the Liberian government failed to live up to its own words that the vice president who was designated was going to be able to receive the petition.
Robert is itching to come in. Robert.
Yeah, the body language tells that.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Do you want to ask a question or
no? Go ahead and respond if you have anything to say based on what.
It's a round table.
Well, I personally, like I said, that there are issues that I think that this government have to address, serious issues as it relates to the economy. It's been a year and a half into, almost a year and a half, going 2 years into George Weah's administration, and I think that we have seen no sign of a serious economic plan to move the country forward. And so those issues have to be addressed. As far as corruption, we know that there have been stories of corruptions of government officials building new homes, including that of the president. We heard about the $25 million infusion that has not been adequately accounted for. And I personally, if you followed me on social media, I personally have called on the firing or dismissal of the finance minister. I've also said that I believe that there's an opportunity this president has to hit the reset button when it comes to some of the people around him. My only argument, and I have to be clear. I know that some of my friends on social media would like to quickly suggest or assert that I am a sedition, but the facts does not even come close to that. I've never been a part of any political party in Liberia. I'm a man who believes in true political institutions, and I've said over and over that we don't have true political institutions that are based on core values. And so I'm not a member of any political party. My loyalty is to my country, and my interest is that of my country. And so I like to have a little bit more balanced view, right? So, Sieh, I share your sentiments. Yes, there has been corruption. Yes, there has been some issues that I think needs to be addressed. But my only problem with some of the advocates when it comes to these things is the fact that they have no credibility on issues such as corruption. When you have people who and I was a very big critic of the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf government, but I was very constructive. I believe in more dialogue, constructive dialogues than protest. I do understand and I respect the rights of the people to protest and assemble. It's the government responsibility to honor that, and it is the government responsibility to provide security as they did yesterday. But I believe that we can get more done. One of the problems in Liberia is the fact that we have people who are more interested in talking, right? People want to flex their academic muscles. They want to talk about the issues, but they don't want to actually act. When there are opportunities provided to actually engage constructively, where we are not just talking about the issues, but we are on the path of actually getting things done, things that would directly infect the lives of the poor. Then they back up. I believe that there has to be some level of dialogue. We have to move forward. And so when the protest happened yesterday and the petition was not presented, from my understanding, I think that wasn't a success. I feel like the petition should have been provided, handed over, presented, and today and next week we should have been talking about what a minute. Here are the things in the protest. Here are the things in the petition. Let's discuss the issues. And let's look at ways that the government can listen to the people's concern, and ways that they can actually start addressing those issues. My only issue again is that some of these people who are talking about all of the things that somehow are not of concern, these things been there for 12 years when Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was in office. And this is not an argument to say because it was there for 12 years when Ellen was in office, so all of the things are somehow not acceptable. No, that's not an argument that I'm making. The only issue is when you was given the opportunity to get right some of the things that you are not advocating for, you failed terribly. There were massive corruption under Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. I mean, $13 million went missing at the that was given by the European Union, unaccounted for. When people were dying of Ebola in our country, Ebola money got stolen, monies that they have yet accounted for. And so I think, yes, this government must act. And a part of the action this government must take when it comes to fighting corruption. And I think people within the COP and people like my friend Sieh, I think we all agree that he must act by auditing the previous administration. We need to know. We need to know. Yes.
Let me hold you there. Mr. Sieh can piggyback on this, but this one is for you. Before I left Monrovia, the president called the protesters to the executive mansion. They sat at the table with the president and the very international community, and nothing came out of the meeting. Do you think they blew the opportunity to present the very concerns to the president? Maybe we would not have been here talking about somebody did not receive it and somebody received it.
Well, I think that there was opportunities missed on two fronts. One is, I believe that was an opportunity for serious national dialogue from the COP and the government's perspective. I believe that event should have been used to discuss some of the issues that they have. And I think that even if you're still going to protest, I think that there could have been a strategy where you say, you know what, we have one week or 2 weeks to the protest. If they are calling us to dialogue, let's see how serious this government is about dialogue. Here is the protest. Here is the petition. Here are our concerns. Okay, I have called on the firing of Simon Twere. I have called on the firing of the bank of the governor of the bank of Central Bank, Nathaniel Pitron. I believe that within, and I have a copy of the petition, by the way. But when we spoke about some of the things within the petition, we were told that the petition was fake. And I'm glad that my friend is saying that it was intentionally leaked, because the person I received it from works with COP. And we'll be patient enough to wait for them to release the official copy. But yes, I do think that they should have presented that to the government, and they would have had a week to see what actions the government would have taken on some of their demands. And they could have used that to say, you see, we were called to dialogue. We presented some of our issues to the president. It's been a week or two. The government have taken no serious actions. And trust me, I would have been one of those saying, you know what? You call these people for a dialogue. They presented some serious things to you. See what? Look, there are quick actions that I think can be taken right now by this government with regards to how we go back to the drawing board to address issues relative to the economy. Fire Simon Twere right now. But had they presented that petition, and that was one of their demands in that petition, it took 2 weeks for the president up to the date of the protest, and the president had not done that, they could have used that as an argument to say, you know what, we presented the petition. These were some of our demands, and it's been 2 weeks, and this president has failed to act. They did not do that. That was a missed opportunity. But here is another missed opportunity. When a president addressed the nation, I expected the president to use words such as, I instruct, I hereby. He didn't. It was an opportunity to say, you know what, I'm not going to let you guys protest. You can go ahead and protest, but I'm not going to wait until you protest to ask me to do the right thing. I'm going to start doing the right thing right now. He should have used his address to the country as a serious platform to present a serious economic plan. He should have said, I'm going to fire Simon Tour right now, and here are some changes that I'm going to make.
Simon Tour
but it's serious. And I think as we one second, let me land 1 second, and I'll let you ask. I think as we have these conversations, and this is the issue that really breaks my heart and baffles me, and it's the fact that we create our own devil, right? And every fan of a devil tries to defend its own devil based on the argument that's been made. Mm-hmm. You can't want to fight corruption right now when you support a devil who was even worse or more corrupt than the devil that you currently fight. Then you have no credibility. If one person is corrupt, then I think it's fair to look at the record of others who were corrupt, and it's fair for us to say, you know what, they too must be held accountable, and that's the issue. And so, yes, COP did miss an opportunity, but I think the president also missed an opportunity to actually pull forth some serious economic plans to address the economic issues in our country.
Thank you, Robert. And I was we're going to allow time for that. What I want to read here is we're still talking about the success of the protest, and I want to read this comment from Mr. Dr. Barton Kula, who think the protest was successful. Here's what he wrote: the June 7th protest was a resounding success. All of the conspiracy theories, threats, and lies, as well as attempts to dampen the enthusiasm of the crowd, it went very peacefully. Why? Because there was no trigger-happy policeman, and the government knew the world was watching. Even their attempts at shutting down the internet backfired. The international headlines endeavor. You set some success criteria, and right after, as we are doing this post-mortem now, we are going to look at the criteria you set, the success criteria you set, and we look at them one line by line to determine if those criteria have been met or not. Mr. Sieh, let me come to you. And I know your group that protested in DC might have done that, set some success criteria so that you can check off if those criteria were met or not. And I'm sure from the way you speak, you may have some first-hand knowledge of what COP was doing in Monrovia. Did you set any success criteria, and can you now tell us if those specific criteria were met? If the criteria, okay, let me stop there and let you respond.
I think Mr. Sieh should first start from whether they blew the chance. The question was
right,
asked, and
right. Thank you. Yep.
Talk about.
Yeah.
The meeting with the president. Do you think that was a missed opportunity? You don't agree? Before you get to Mr. Jai's question.
Yeah, thank you. I was also about to point that out. If anybody squander any opportunity that came their way throughout this process, that will be the president and that will be the government. Why did I say so? A government elected on the mantra of change must be changed itself before it can effect change. And when that happens, no one should be able to tell that change government what change is, how to carry on the change, and how to be effective on the change agenda. That is not the case with the president. That is not the case with this government. So again, the government and the president had all the opportunities in this war from the get-go to set a tone. But what tone did the president set? Failure to declare access, bailing homes. Was that a tone? No.
Mr. Sieh, let me hold you right there.
Yeah, I'm coming to the question. It is very important. I'm coming to the question.
I want you to go to that question about if the Council of Patriots missed any opportunity. I know you're going to talk about the president.
No, the presidency is important, and I was just trying to tell you, the president is the one that makes all the opportunities. When the Council of Patriots had that meeting with the president should have acted on the concerns of the Liberian people? Because tell me that if you want to tell me that the president does not know about the concerns of the Liberian people, does he not know that? If the president does not know about the concerns of the Liberian people, then he should not be president in the first place. Because this man told us that he knew what the problem was. He knew what the problems were, if I can pluralize it. So he came to power, he should have acted in the first place, but he did not. He waited and waited. So again, when the Council of Patriots appeared, he should have acted. Robert talked about the speech to the nation, the much anticipated speech after outcry on the economy, on corruption, on reports indicting his officials, instead of the president facing the Liberian people to address the Liberian people and make serious decisions on these corruption allegations. As seen in the other reports, the president sent the Liberian people a voicemail. So if we come to talk about who missed any opportunity or squander, it will be the president and the Liberian government. Let me conceive here a little bit that yes, the Council of Patriots should have given the petition to any official of government. I will concede here that yes, they could have done that. They did not do so. And also, I want to say, when they met the government at that particular meeting, they should have made it also clear that yes, these are the concerns, but our official petition will be delivered when we gather on June 7th. So I will conclude to say, people may argue that there were missed opportunities, but the government is the one who missed all of the opportunities.
Okay. Thank you. If you're just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. We are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. Today, we are doing a postmortem on the June 7th protest called Save the State that was held yesterday in Monrovia. We have our guest, Mr. Robert Garguah from Atlanta, Georgia, and also Mr. Ansony Sieh from Minnesota. Right now, he's joining us from the nation's capital, where he went to protest, had to be a part of the June 7th protest happening simultaneously both in Liberia and also the USA. Now, you admitted, or you said that yes, the Council of Patriots should have presented. So that's a missed opportunity, even if you don't call it that way.
Thank you.
Here is the and now I talk about the success criteria. And most of the time in Liberia, we are, and I said this to somebody, we are sometimes bogged down to the process instead of the outcome.
Yes.
If the outcome of the protest is to, for example, fire Samuel Tue, or the protest is fire the bank governor, or declare your asset, what does it matter who received that petition? If your outcome, if what exactly you want is those three things that I just listed, does it really matter who physically received the petition? I think not reading the petition yesterday, I think that was a big missed opportunity. I want you to comment, Mr. Sieh.
Thank you. I maintain my argument that it's the government that continue to miss all of the opportunities here. I continue to argue it is the president that continue to miss all the opportunities here. Now, one thing that is not debatable, which is a very unique opportunity that the president had, was the issue of the letter informing the president that donors' money got stolen from their accounts by his officials. My reliable information is that the only thing our president did was to write the embassies a letter to apologize for the corruption committed by his officials. So we have come to realize now that we have a president who in his address, or one of his addresses to the nation, that he will fight corruption, and wherever he finds it, the full weight of the law will take its course. The president cannot fire somebody after being informed by his partners, by the diplomatic heavyweights. He cannot do that, something that is not debatable. So if the president cannot fire somebody on something this simple, this clear, non-debatable whatsoever, no wonder why they intellectualize the debate, the report on the 16 billion. No matter why they continue to intellectualize the debate on the $25 million. So, the president is the one who has squandered every opportunity. And again, the Council of Patriots are doing what they needed to do and continue to do that in the best interest of the Liberian people. The petition is out there. The government has it in its hand. Let George Weah act. George Weah needed nobody to protest before he carried out his responsibility to the Liberian people.
There's no question. There's no question about that. There's no question. But as Robert said, if you list exactly the points in your petition that you want done, so wouldn't those be the points you will hold the president on to say, well, these are the things and you didn't do them, so we are going back in the street. But if you don't say anything, even though he had the opportunity during the State of the Union, during his national address, because nobody needs to tell the president what to do. So he had the opportunity, as Robert said, and I agree with him, that these are the steps. There were no concrete steps laid out in the president's address as to what he was going to do to fix the situation. Okay, and the Council of Patriots is not pushing him to fix the situation. Instead, you are dealing with peripheral issues. Who takes the protest? Which clothes he should be wearing to accept the protest? And I'm just making this up now. So if you are not, if you are not stressing the meat of the issue that are so dire to the hearts of the matter, why are you, talking these peripheral issues? If just we hold the petition today, is their issue resolved?
Yeah, there is nothing peripheral here. Nothing, absolutely nothing. The Council of Patriots have been very clear. We that support the protest, we have been very clear. We have indicated to the Liberian people that Samuel Twelve need to go. We have made it clear that Nathaniel Petrie need to go. These individuals were indicted in the other reports. They need to go, and that's the right thing for the president to do. You can't tell me you don't know that. You can't tell me you haven't heard that. The president cannot argue here.
Mr. Sieh.
I'm not saying peripheral issue. The issue of the War Crime Code 2 is another one. It is a known fact to the president that that is one of the things that we want.
Mr. Sieh.
Yes.
Today, Tua is fired. Nathaniel Petrie is gone. Is the Council of Patriots satisfied? Will they be the end of your protest?
No. Liberia is not better yet. Liberia is still in trouble. We are saying the individuals are bad examples. These individuals' behavior has not only disgraced themselves, the very president themselves, but also the Liberian people. And so we want to see them gone. And then when they are gone, that they are replaced with credible individuals who will be able to roll the ball in the interest of the Liberian people. Let me tell you, honorable man, the problem in our country, we all need to fight to get out those individuals who are the major players on these problems that are affecting our country. We need to do that. If Samuel Twelve is gone today, if, for example, he appoints, what's his name, Wesley Tapper, and Wesley Tapper is not up to the task, we will request that the president fire him also. So yeah, it is about doing the right thing for the country. So whoever comes to the plate, and if that person is not up to the task, of course we'll make our request. It's in our right to do so as a people. They serve us. We are the employers. So when you employ somebody, if the person is not doing a job, if the person is causing trouble for your company, of course the person needs to go, because there got to be someone out there who can get a job.
In specific terms, if you were sitting with President Weah at this moment, as a Liberian, he called you in to advise him, specific terms, besides the dismissal of these two people, what will you tell the president?
I will also tell the president there are many incompetent individuals in your government besides the individual, and I will name names because I'm not a coward. Nathaniel McGill is a burden to the government. He's a burden to President Weah. He's not an administrator. He's not competent for that office that he holds. He must go as well. That would be one of my recommendations. Another recommendation would be that the president write a letter to the United Nations requesting the establishment of the War and Economic Crime Court in Liberia so that we can address the issues of war crimes in our country, because war criminals are now leaders in the country, and that is an embarrassment to us as a people. Another thing also, do you want me to continue? Hello?
I can hear you, Sieh. I'm not sure if they can hear you.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Hello?
I was just about to say that the previous government should be audited, that the president should remove from our national budget his wife immediately. I will tell the president that the president should declare his assets, and that the president should show all bank receipts or bank statements of where he got the money that he has used to build his homes in Liberia, that the president also should refund the donors' money, and that should also fire the individuals who took the donors' money. That the president should also make sure that he submit a bill for our lawmakers' salary to be reduced. That the president should also reform all our schools, that the president should provide significant funding for agriculture, because these are the things that will help our country, and not the stealing, the building of mansions and looting in the country. That would be my recommendation to the president.
Thank you. If you're just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. We are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia, discussing the post of June 7th protest. We have a caller on the line. Caller, your name and where you're calling from.
Yes, how are you, Lofa? My name is Jeremy. Former press secretary to President Sieh, a Liberian citizen who's in the U.S., and I want to say hi to my comrade Vietnam. So how are you?
Thank you, Mr. P.S. I will call you right after the show.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you. Lofa, I'm following your discussion. Intentionally and deliberately, I have been part of Liberian political affairs since we left office in January 2018. And the reasons are personally known to me. So I have been deliberately away from in Liberia. But just following your show, I thought to just make a contribution based on the way I saw the situation going. In the first place, Mr. Sieh is supposed to be a partner to the Council of States from the U.S. end, though he indicated clearly that his organization is not a member of the Council of Patriots. But I think the objectives are on the same path.
Okay.
But I think there is a missing link there between he and the folks in Monrovia. I have spoken to some of the fellows who are involved in the protest since yesterday, and let me say that it was a mistake that they chose not to read their petition after the government assembled people such as the Minister of Justice, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and the National Security Advisor, and a number of high-level officials. But the basis, as I heard from them, for not presenting the statement was not on account of who should receive the statement. They crossed that line. They agreed that any representation from the government will receive the statement. The problem came when they insisted that since Wednesday, when that situation with Yeke Koluba occurred, there were a number of individuals who were arrested on that day that are still in prison. They've not been charged. They've gone beyond the 48-hour requirement that government has, or the legal system has, to be able to charge the person who's arrested and detained. So their demand was they would not present the statement until those individuals were released.
Right.
The Justice Minister responded by saying the individuals were represented by lawyers, and Councillor Lavla Supo,
Right.
was the key lawyer, and that they then discussing the issue, and he was told that by the end of yesterday's working day, the issue concerning those individuals would have been resolved through their lawyer, and that was that to some of the folks involved when I talk to them later, that was a misstep.
Yeah.
If you were already in the street, for example, you could read the petition. In my mind, if it was me, I would have read the petition and then say to the authorities that, so we will not leave where we are, we remain in the street, we remain on the grounds of the protest until those individuals are released. But then by then, you would have presented your petition already. And because there have been concerns about how long the protest is supposed to go, whether 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, no, we need people in the street for several days. So I would have thought that by insisting that if the individuals were not released after reading the petition, you wouldn't leave the street. That would have even been much more of a stronger reason why the government would have seen the need to address the issue of the individuals who were still in prison, so that those who were in the street would leave the street. So clearly, in my mind, they should have read and presented the statement to the individuals who came to receive it and use their presence as a new condition to demand the release of the individual. And let me just say finally before I leave the land.
Okay.
The protest has come and gone, and Liberians should all be happy that it was very peaceful. But following social media, I see what appears to be a couple of provocations, some coming from people who are authorities in government that I think we all should advise them against. They're unwarranted. For example, I saw some posts from people who are assistant and deputy ministers in government asking questions like, I thought they said the protest was a nationwide protest. And some asking, I thought they said the whole country. These are provocative actions that none of us should encourage because the peace of our country is of interest to all of us. And if a protest came and passed out peacefully, we must all avoid those kinds of provocative actions that could spark further conflict and trouble, because that's not what we want. What I was wondering, some of these officials who posted this thing, what they didn't want. That the whole country should be in turmoil. They didn't want to see pictorial of people being wounded, people being killed. So if we have a situation that ended peacefully, why do we get ourselves involved with provocative activities that will eventually lead to actions that all of us will not like? So I want to call on all of our people, including officials in government, that we must remain very positive in our engagement as we seek to address the issues that confronts Liberia today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeremiah. All right. So that was a caller, Jeremiah. He's a former press secretary to the former president.
Former Deputy Minister for Public Affairs at the Ministry of Information, Culture, and Tourism.
All right. So yeah.
I don't know what his next step will be, but right now he's at Harvard pursuing some studies there. He's one of the people I respect in that country. Very peaceful man. I will support him to be senator for McGibby.
That's a different story. So if you're just joining us, you can call the number 706-684-0392. And before the caller comes on, Ansony, I think you listened to the caller. I don't know if you have any.
Both of them, I think they should come.
Right. If you have any comment.
Yeah, go ahead, Robert.
Go ahead, Robert.
You know, I think that the gentleman, the caller was was to the point. He was very. I agree with everything he said. And I believe that it was a missed opportunity. And you know, and look, this arrest took place I think 2 or 3 days before the protest, and like he said, they should have included that demands. That demand should have been part of the petition. And I think today they sent, I think, those guys for pre-trial at the Monrovia prison, and so they would not be released until Monday, by the way. But I believe it was a completely missed opportunity. And this is part of my reservations when it comes to this protest. We understand the concerns of Liberians. I mean, if you listen to some of the comments made by the people that were in the streets yesterday, they were very clear. They talk about market women was talking about, hey, you know, my market is not selling no more because things are very expensive. The other gentleman said, my kids cannot go to school. I don't have money. These are issues. These are old age issues, right? And we expect our government, a new government, or whatever it is, our leaders to put in place a plan to address these issues, right? But let me just say that. Let me just say that before I go, because my brother has been giving more time to express himself, and I'm enjoying him. But if you know, if the petition that have been leaked, and I think he said that the petition was intentionally leaked. If the petition that have been leaked is not fake, as been said on Facebook, then there are issues such as there are demands such as this government dissolving its entire cabinet, and there are demands such as that dissolving the entire board of the National Election Commissions. And you know, and as you read the petition, it brings to question, wait a minute, are we really talking about issues, bread and butter issues? Corruption, that's one thing. We can go all day. We don't have time for this show to talk about corruptions and all of the important parts of it. But when you are talking about issues that are important to Liberians, especially the thousands of Liberians that was on the streets yesterday, what does dissolving the entire a board of commissioners at the election commission, how does that directly impact your lives right now? Why are you requesting the dissolving of an entire cabinet? Democracy is a very good thing, and we can talk about the positives when it comes to what happened yesterday. But remember, we have a government, irrespective of our disagreement, that was democratically elected by the very people, I believe, that were on the streets yesterday. And so we can praise democracy when we want something to happen, okay? And at the same time, steps on it when it's flipped. This government was democratically elected. We can't go about protests and demands on every issues. We have to engage constructively, and there has to be a balance to it.
Thank you, Robert. Before Ansony come in, I have a call on the line because the calls are coming in fast, and our system is not that sophisticated to handle everything. So we want to bring in a few more callers before we proceed. Call out your name and where you're calling from.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Momo Sagi. I'm calling from Minnesota.
Momo, your question or comment, please.
I got questions for the COP, one of the COP supporters.
I don't think he's a COP supporter, but go ahead.
Yeah, first I want to say thanks to the Liberian people yesterday, and I want to say thanks to the government, because first time I was in live, I started watching Liberia politics. It's the first time to see an African leader in power, people protesting, and the government defied them. I want to say kudos to the government and even the citizens, because they were peaceful. Because if they could not be peaceful, the both sides could not be peaceful. I think it's the first time in our history in Africa to see group of citizens protesting and the government dividing water on that. So I want to say thanks for that. But yes, my question.
Yes, the police.
One of the COP supporters.
Right.
My issue is about the war crime code. I want for the COP supporter to please tell me what our code is and how a code can be established. Does a code in Liberia can only be established by the president or by the national legislature? If he says yes, by the national legislature, I want to ask him, does the COP does not have member in parliament that we able to propose that bill?
You get that.
If both the two houses does not have people that put the bill, if the party to law, and if the president refuses that the national legislature could veto it,
thank you.
Passing the law that can be established, or it can only be done by the president of the Liberia. We add the national legislator. That's my question.
Thank you so much. And we have a legislator in studio. Maybe he can help with that as well. And he also said, Yeke Koluba is in there. But thank you. You can take your answer off the line. Mr. Sieh, your response.
Very good question. Number one, he asks, how can this war crime code that we are asking for be established? Somebody is trying to...
Yeah, someone trying to call you. That's what happened.
Yeah. So yes, as I was trying to say, there are many ways the war crime code can be established, and he tried to point those ways out, and he make it to a question. One, yes, the president can submit a bill to the House if that's something that the president wants to see or happens. The national legislature can also be petitioned. Any member who supports the COP or who is a member of the COP can also submit a petition or the very national legislature to do that. The citizens of Liberia who also want to see war crime codes can also petition the government through the national legislature. Have these things been done? Yes, some have been done. I am aware that the national legislature at some point was petitioned to pick up the war crime code. They did not do so. Why they have not been able to do so at this time? Because the national legislature is aware that the president does not want that. And they are in the pocket of the president. I'm glad we have a representative here, and I'm proud to say that they are in the pocket of the president. That is why it has not happened. Let us also be clear here that the president's party advocated for the war crime code, and they promised the Liberian people that they were going to show the establishment of the war crime code. What changed? That is my question. But this is what we have done. Because we know that our government is not up to the task, that the president is not serious about this, he's playing politics, because he's in political bed and romance with Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and Prince Johnson, we have taken steps. We petitioned the US government, and the US government had a resolution. And so we'll see where that goes. Well, I can assure you that yes, those ways that you listed in your questions are some of the ways the war crime code can be.
Right.
But Dennis, I have to interject. I have to interject for a second. Let's go back for a second.
Robert,
let
me bring this caller on because he's been waiting for so long.
All right, go
Caller,
ahead.
just quickly your name and where you calling from, and then followed by your question.
Good afternoon. I am the ambassador of Liberia to the United States. I am Patton, George Patton. Ambassador,
thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, brother, and I'm happy to be monitoring your program. I see Honorable Jay Nabeslo. Comrade, how you doing?
I'm okay, Ambassador. I'll call you after the program.
Well, I just wanted to say to address the misinformation that has been fed to the Liberian people while a gentleman calling himself Sieh.
No, that's his name. He's not calling himself.
This is what I have to say. 2 weeks ago, I received a letter from a group calling itself the Movement for Justice in Liberia, informing me of the intention to petition the government through my office. I instructed my secretary to write to them and to tell them that we were going to receive them. Yesterday, by the time I got to my office, they were already at the office, which was not a problem. I disembarked from my car and tried to greet them. They became very rowdy. I didn't like that. But be that as it may, I went into my office and I continued to send my staff outside to find out whether they were ready to petition the government. What we noticed was that this group didn't seem organized. They didn't seem to have a leader. So my staff kept coming back to me. They couldn't find a leader, someone to talk to. Then finally, they said they were going to the White House and they would come back to the embassy to petition the government. I did not refuse to see them. I was waiting for them to be ready to present a petition before I could go outside. So I was waiting, I waited. Now, meanwhile, I was supposed to be in Philadelphia at 3 o'clock to address a business forum and then deliver the case of Liberia with regard to private sector investment in the country. They went to White House and came back around 2 o'clock. After 2 going to 3, these people still were not ready to petition the government. I sent my staff again to find out whether they were ready because I had to leave And when they were not forthcoming, I went outside simply to say, my people, you said you were coming at 12 o'clock. And that's all I said. That is not an insult. I find a man now on social media who calls him, who is Mr. Duke Adate Aye, whether it's Ghanaian or Nigerian, ranting on the phone that I insulted Liberian. I would never have done that. That's preposterous. There's no way I would insult the Liberian people who come to my embassy to petition the government on the right guarantee under the Constitution. So that misinformation that is out there, I hope it can be debunked from this moment. I was not arrogant. I waited for them. I waited them to tell me they were ready to petition the government. They were not ready. It was only when I saw a man named Lobo. Lobo is a guy I don't know. He's always on social media, and I recognized him. That's when I talked to Lobo. I said, look, I am ready. So if you guys are ready with your petition, let's receive it. Even at that, after Muna, the young lady Muna Fahad presented the petition, they refused to even give me a copy because I promised them that I would transmit that petition to government. I haven't had it. I don't know when it's going to come. So they missed another opportunity both here and in Liberia to present this petition to the government. That's what happened. I never displayed any act of arrogance as alluded to by Mr. Sieh. I don't know him. And he should not attribute that to me. I am not arrogant. People who know me, I am very, very humble.
I wrote my country ambassador in the US. I did not receive or reply acknowledging receipt of our communication and agreeing to our request to present a petition at noon. We did not get that reply. When we did not get a response from your office, Honorable Ambassador, I made 6 different calls. I will provide my number for you to check your phone. I made 6 calls. The calls were picked up. And then I asked that I would like to speak to somebody about a communication we have for the ambassador, informing him that we will be at the embassy. The call was transferred to your secretary, and your secretary never picked up the call. And so we did not get a response from you. With respect to our communication, we did not get a call from you. I signed the letter on behalf of our institution, the Movement for Justice. So my name is on that particular communication. So you have the name of an individual that you could ask for, or you could instruct any of your staff to ask. You did not do so. But you came here, the first thing you said is that a gentleman calling himself Sieh. My name is Sieh. I am not calling myself Sieh. So, Honorable Ambassador, with all due respect, with the years of experience that you had, when you come to address issue, something I appreciate, you must do it very honorably. And I will say that for the fact. And so, yes, the other side, yes, it is fact that the ambassador came out 2 times. That is true. And I want to commend him for that, for coming out. But he got himself in a very dilemma. Because if he has responded to our communication that he'll be there at 2 o'clock noon, we're going to give him the communication. But he did not tell us. And so that's why he had to eat his own cake that he begged in the first place. So, Honorable Ambassador, to set the record straight, my number is available. You can reach out to me. My understanding is that you said it here, that you instructed your secretary. You want to check with that secretary if at all she was able to honor your instruction to reply to the communication that we sent to you. And so going forward, another thing I want to point out is that when the ambassador came, Jack and J numbers, the ambassador was laughing. He was laughing, and when the ambassador attempted to address her, the ambassador was pointing fingers. I've not been around for so long, but I've come to understand that when people gather, people that you self-gather and are agreed for you to be laughing in their presence when they are there for matter that is that serious, that was unfortunate. And also pointing fingers at them, that was also unfortunate. Maybe the ambassador need to learn how to conduct himself when he appears before people. And so I don't want to doubt your credibility because I don't know anything about you, but what you showed that day, yesterday, did not impress me. And right. I will not shy away from people.
Okay, hold on. Isaac, quickly, before we come to you, I think the ambassador is calling again. So Isaac, quickly, give your opinion. We have a caller on the line. Caller, your name and where you're calling from quickly. 30 seconds. Caller, your name?
My name is My name is Isaac Seto calling from Atlanta, Georgia.
Your question or comment? Thank you for calling.
My question is that I want to focus on the central bank because a lot of looting and stealing at the central bank. We have the Honorable Nangwe Slaw, who is a co-host, and I think you can throw light. What can we do to face the central bank? What can we do to face the central bank? Because it is where all the corruption coming from that is creating problem and causing our people to suffer. So what can we do to create or to solve the problem in the central bank?
Thank you.
So that they can operate professionally.
Thank you, Isaac. Mr. Slaw.
Yeah.
How do we fix the issue at the central bank?
Well, I wish I was an economist to address. First of all, he's complaining about corruption at the central bank. Well,
Hello.
Yes, hold on, caller.
It's very easy to deal with the central bank. There's nothing technical about that. That's where government keep their money. In fact, the donor money that people talk about, that's where it is. So if it works out, just audit and take action. That's all you need to do about the central bank. It's not like Minister of Finance where you have to have some economic, management knowledge and all of that. Now, there was a little discussion about war crimes tribunal. I want us to look beyond the president. Look in the House of Representatives, the current one.
Make a point.
You will count minimum 3 of the very people that should be appearing before the war crimes tribunal. Go to the Senate, same situation. So it's going to be a little tough. Liberian people elected their people, and then you say, okay, we'll carry you to war crime tribunal, this and that. It's tough. We are discussing it because first you got to remove people from that place in order to carry it into war crimes tribunal. It's the people that can petition for us to remove any war law from the House before we can send them to the war crime tribunal. But it is the legislature that should establish the war crime tribunal because it's an institution of the government. Both houses must pass it, and then the president sign it into law. Until that is done, we'll be going all around the place. The international community cannot do that for us.
All right, we have a caller from the line. Look like the ambassador is calling back.
Yes, it's the ambassador. I'm sorry for calling back, but I need to make a clarification on the laughter yesterday.
Okay.
I wish I showed Mr. Sieh that it had nothing to do with him and the group he brought. There was a gentleman in the group who is a pastor. And this pastor, whatever he was saying, he talked so much until someone stood up by me and said, look, but this man is a pastor. Why is he talking the way he talks? And the way he said it was funny. Right. That's why I laughed.
Okay.
It had nothing to do with Mr. Sieh or the protesters. I was laughing because of the comment this guy standing by me made about a particular pastor in the group who just went on talking and talking and talking. Right. It had nothing to do with them. Now, I raised my finger yesterday. Does not mean that I was pointing at anybody. I will be making a point. Right. Gathering, it is not out of place to raise your finger to make a point.
Okay.
If Mr. Sieh has been in political gathering, he will understand that. From where we come from, the places we have been, gatherings we have attended and participated in, it is normal to raise a point, to raise your finger to make a point. Does not mean that you were pointing at any particular person. I wanted to make that clear. I wasn't pointing at him, and I wasn't pointing at the protesters. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you, Ambassador, for making that clarification.
At least we found a common ground.
Another caller on the line. Your name and where you calling from?
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Giles. This is Vida Wright. I'm calling from Atlanta, Georgia.
Vida, welcome. Your question or comment?
Well, actually, oh gosh, excuse me. I really don't have a question. Well, let me just say what I needed to say. Okay. I'm watching the program right now. Mr. Sieh, let me say thank you all for everything that you guys did yesterday, and to the people of Liberia. We appreciate them.
got a technical issue with the line from Vidya. So, Robert, you heard the ambassador.
Yes, I heard the ambassador, and look, I think that when I wasn't there yesterday, and so I did speak to some folks that were there yesterday. Uh, what I heard was that there was some disrespect thrown at the protester and things like that. And so I don't want to dive into the finger pointings, right? I'm more about the substance, and if the organizers, I think one of the things he mentioned was that he could not identify a leader. So maybe Mr. Sieh can clarify if he wrote the letter, if he communicated with the ambassador secretary. I'm not sure who exactly was the leader. Was he supposed to be the leader? I think that there was some miscommunication on maybe both ends. I'll say, as far as the time they were supposed to be there and things like that. So I wasn't there, and so I don't want to dive into it. What I really want to talk about is the some of the demands and some of the comments Mr. Sieh made. And I think that as it relates to the War Crimes and Economic Crimes Court, I think we got to be very, very careful. And the Liberian people have to make a decision. If we do want to see Economic Crimes Court, we have to give power to people who can actually get that done without fear of being one of the folks who are supposed to be persecuted. If you elected people who are war criminals, if you elected people who have been accused of massive corruption, I mean, 9 times out of 10, they don't want to impersonate themselves. 9 times out of 10, they're not going to support any idea of a war crime court. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was the key architect for the mess in Liberia. Before we even talk about the War Crimes Court, the question should be, why didn't we implement the recommendations from the TRC when that recommendations were made? The recommendations was a starting point, I think. And if we are serious, and again, I like to be balanced, and I like to think outside of the box, right? We can talk about the issues is one thing. We can talk about what it is that we need now, but it's important to ask serious questions. And the reason why I think we continue to elect people who are not in the interest of Liberians is because our people do not understand how powerful they are. Our people do not understand that, in fact, you work for me. And the best way we can exhibit that is saying, wait a minute, you know what? This is my interest. If your interest is War Crimes Court, then it is incumbent upon you to elect people whose hands are free. It is incumbent upon you to elect people who is capable of bringing War Crime Court. If you look at the demands of the COP, and something that was very interesting that I saw in their request to expeditiously arrest, first they want the War Crimes Court established, and government alone cannot do everything in Liberia. We put so much responsibility on the president and forget that we have representatives. We have to engage, and that's a part of us engaging strategically, responsibly, and constructively. We have lawmakers. There are things that the lawmakers can do that will compel the president, in conjunction or in collaboration with their constituents, that will compel the president to actually get certain things done. But when you look at the demands of the COP, if the leaked petition is not fake, as they say, they requested the expeditious arrest of Prince Johnson, Senator Prince Johnson, Dr. George Bully, Professor Clomine, and some other folks that was listed on there. Interestingly, they left the name of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. demands to arrest former or key war actors. They also left the name of Representative Yeka Koluba. And again, it bears the question: are we selectively, or do we selectively want certain war actors persecuted, arrested, and held accountable? Or are we going to demand the arrest of people who does not speak our language at this point? I don't support that. I believe that everyone who's responsible for where we are, everyone who committed crimes in Liberia, whether it be a war or economic, they should be arrested. And if we must arrest every war or hold accountable every war crime or every war actor, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf should be on our list. Yeke Koluba should be on our list. And they should be able to defend themselves in court. They should have that time in court. But we cannot selectively pick who we want to arrest at and who should be left off the list. And so we're either doing it the right way or we're not doing it at all. And so the question I think Mr. Sieh maybe can help answer, or maybe he can give his input, is why is it that the TRC have not been implemented? The TRC could have been implemented. Ellen could have done it. The very folks who are now key actors in this COP, they worked for Ellen at the time that happened. So why is it wasn't done? We know why it wasn't done, because there were elections around the corner, and had that TRC recommendation been implemented, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf would not have ran for office, because that recommendation disqualified her to run a whole any elected office in Liberia. So we have to be very careful. We have to be honest and sincere with ourselves and whose interests we seek. I sense a little bit of hypocrisy here, and that I don't support.
Thank you very much. What you said, you make a lot of sense. You said that in the COP leaked petition, they listed some individuals we all know took part, played major roles in the war. And they did not need Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. They did not need Yeka Koluba. You know, when it comes to our national dialogue, I agree with you. We should not and should never be selective. And when we get selective, either by oversight, we should acknowledge that. I was not part of the team that drafted the petition. But what I will say is that in the petition, the call for the establishment of War Crime Code lays everything out. Because when the code is established, the courts will cover all those who are being indicted in the TRC report. And let us also understand that in the TRC report, there are many other recommendations besides the establishment of the War Crime Code. There is something I continue to say, describe a power to the people, allowing city mayors, superintendents to be elected, where the people will be able to decide their own county and cities officials. There are many things in there that I can't remember now, but that we all are aware we have to reform our government and reduce the power of the presidency. Yes, you are right. We should never and ever be selective. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf played a key role in the war that dogged our country, and she should not go free. And that is why my personal qualm with this president has been, why will you sign a deal with the woman in Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, know who she has been? And the answer is, it was all about power. We are wanting power at all costs. His very supporters today are very hypocritical. They cannot challenge George Weah on Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. They can't. They can't even challenge George Weah on Prince Johnson. Even though before coming to power, Mr. Weah and his party said they were going to do those things. That is the hypocrisy. So yes, I agree with you. We should never and ever in any manner be that way when it comes to discussing national issues, because our failure to hold everybody accountable and responsible for the wrongs they've done in our society will undermine our collective efforts to bring people to justice, to hold people accountable, and to make our country a respectful one. So you are right.
Okay. Call out your name and where you're calling from.
time, and the reason why I came this time around, your platform, and I'm Jeremy McPia. Your platform is very serious, and we should ensure that the things we say are based on facts, because a lot of people are listening, and if we misinform them, whether deliberately, intentionally or unintentionally, such an information cannot be reversed once you throw that to the public. I agree with your host who insists that the implementation of the recommendations of the TRC is one best way we should have gone as a country. I really, really do think so.
As a starter.
But when he said there was a deliberate attempt not to implement the TRC recommendation,
Oh, did we lose that caller?
Dennis, can you hear me? Am I
really
audible?
is not aware that this was an issue that was taken to the Liberian court system.
Mr. Pierre, can you just summarize it and quickly just go over what you just said?
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying the specific recommendations that have to do with people being barred from participating in politics was taken to court. And the Liberian legal system ruled through the Supreme Court that was part of the jurisdiction of the TRC to infringe upon the rights of anyone with regards to political participation.
Thank you.
It's a matter that was resolved by the court and therefore could not have contributed to whether the recommendations were implemented or not. It's important for the public to know that. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pierre.
Yeah.
All right, guys, if you're just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia, and we want to welcome all our guests, all our viewers from across the globe. We have another caller on the line. Caller, your name and where you're calling from.
I'm Thomas Ray. I'm calling from Dallas, Texas.
Thomas, your question or comment?
I got a comment and I got a question for the honorable man.
Sure.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. For me, the June 7th protest was a success. Okay. And I say it was a success because the issues associated were raised long before the protest. The non-presentation of a protest document does not negate those issues. For example, corruption, the economy, and the perceived rioting during the protest. All of these issues were known. During the protest, there was no issue. So for me, the protest was a success. What it did, in fact, was that it highlighted all of these problems, all of these issues that Liberians have. So for me, the protest was a success. And if there's any other issues after the protest, I think protest organizers should be able to handle it. Now, my question to the honorable man is that legislature constrained to highlight and address the issues of corruption, low economic output?
Thank you, honorable lawmaker. Now you are moved from a co-host now to, so can you respond to our guest question, to our call-out question?
Bassett.
Yes.
My
question.
Mm-hmm.
My question is the legislature constrained to highlight these burning issues during their discussion and present solutions to the president? For example, the issue of corruption and low economic output. GDP keeps declining. That's the question I'm asking Honorable Slaw.
Thank you.
My brother, the question is in place. I heard it first, I understood it first, and you didn't really have to repeat it, but here's what is obtaining. We lack the kind of leadership that will hold people accountable for the Liberian people's money and other decisions. Under the law, the ministries and agencies, including the central bank, should report to us quarterly on what they do with the money entrusted to them. I will text Speaker Chambers' number to you so you can ask him how many reports he got with him. Since we took over almost 2 years now. Don't ask me what have you done. You want me to keep going? Basse?
Keep going.
No.
All right.
He understood me. When I say Basse, he knows. That's my man. He worked at the Central Bank before.
All right. A comment on Facebook from Soklote. It would be impossible to only elect people who have no link to the Civil War because as notorious as some of them were, they were good to their counties and people who see them as saviors or heroes. It is most likely that they will continue to elect them. That's the Soklote on the issue of war crime court.
And as long as you keep electing them, they participate in the decision of whether or not there should be a war crime court. If any president wants Nimba, you better leave PYJ alone. Any president.
All right, we have a caller.
I know Sieh disagree.
Caller, your name and where you're calling from before Mr. Sieh comes in.
Hello, guys. My name is Rose Joy Carmore. How you guys doing today?
We're doing excellent. Your question, and welcome to Focus on Liberia. Your question or comment?
Okay. First of all, I just want to tell the organizer for the protest yesterday and the people that protest in the country. I want to say thank you to them for peaceful protest, and I also want to thank this platform for always allowing us to come here and talk about the issues of our country. First of all, I just want to throw in that as a Liberian, in order for you to get better, before your country get better, your mindset have to be better. And there's one thing we struggle with as a Liberian. We always think that we are not supposed to be at a certain place in life. We also wait for people to help us. It's something we always seeking for people to help us. So I want, this is very important for our country and for our people to know that the mind of a person takes you to another level in life. But that is deep, and that is for another time. Also, I want to say the protest yesterday, not presenting the petition, was an unsuccessful protest. Because it doesn't matter who comes to get the petition. It matters what do they do about the petition, what the outcome, what do you want? What do you want to read about, and what the answer do you want to get from this paperwork? Because it's just a paperwork, it's a bunch of sentences on there. But who will be able to implement those things that we put on this paper? Again, I hear people on Facebook saying, oh, what? We didn't come to the crack. He lost credibility. And I say to my Liberian people, are we still back in the old days that we don't respect security? You respect the head of state, the man that controls a whole nation, to walk to a crowd that disregard and call him rogue, to walk to them. First of all, they never got touched. We don't know what they have in the pocket. We don't know what their agendas are to walk to those people. I would say shame on whoever that won that president. We have to walk through that crowd. I would say shame on them. And for the fact that we don't adapt, we're in an advanced country and never saw Trump go anywhere before, and we pay for security for Trump. So many millions of dollars we pay for Trump to be just in a place. You know what I'm saying? And I want to comment on the ambassador. I watched when they went to the embassy, they were very disrespectful. The Garguah Christian, he disrespected that man. And we from Liberia, we are trained people. We are disciplined people. I don't care where you at in life. We respect our elders. That's what was instilled in me. I don't care what the matter is that you want to present. You must remember that is your elders. You must respect your elders because you were trained to do that. We are not Americans, and we will never be. You understand me? So again, to the protesters, to the street all day. Let's get to the real issues. Let's do what is best for Liberia. Let's take a little part here, you know, to do for our country. And let's stop all the noise around here, because noise will never build Liberia. And thank you for the platform again. And you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you so much, caller. And our time is fast spent. We'll soon be winding this down, but I will let you or our guests respond to the caller. Let me start with you, Ansony.
Yeah, I think she spoke well. I agree that in this civil discourse, we must always be civil. We must always be respectful, no matter what our crimes are and with whom. Yes, I couldn't agree more. And that's the only way the people that we are asking to act on our concerns will be able to be moved to act on our concerns. And they also speak to our very selves. You know, what kind of message are you sending out, not only to your leaders, but also to the outside world? Because believe it or not, we are all representatives of our country. And so when we behave, or whatever we do, we must show our best selves and at all times. So she was very correct. So just the same way we are able to challenge our leaders and tell them about their unfortunate behaviors, we should also be able to look at ourselves and, you know, and be able to correct ourselves and give nothing but our best in every situation and at all times. So I couldn't agree more. And that is one of the issues with us Liberians. And, you know, we point fingers at others for not behaving well, but then we forget to know that it is also incumbent on us to behave well as well. So yes, on the issue of the president not going to receive the petition, and she said that why would other people want to think that that would be a huge security risk? Yes, I agree. It's a huge security risk, or it's going to be a huge security risk for a president to walk in a crowd to receive a petition. But let us not forget, this president is known to be a country giant. The man told us recently he got Monserrato. If you have Monserrato, my understanding is that all the citizens in there are see the petition. But hey, to conclude, I agree. The petition could be received by just anybody, and now the pressure will be on the government to receive it. And let me also add that the petition was intentionally leaked, and the government has it. And if the president means well for his own reputation, even though I want to stay here that he does not have one right now, he needs to act in the best interest of the Liberian people. That's what I want to say.
Thank you. Well, Mr. Sieh, before you go, do you belong to any Liberian political party?
As of right now, I do not. I will be glad to let you know that I did resign from the CDC. Just last year, September the 23rd, I did resign. When I was in the CDC, I served at its, CDC USA to be specific, I served as its national coordinator for 4 years. The CDC betrayed me very, very badly. And I have no regret for resigning from the CDC. All of the things that we advocated for, that I have believed in, the pillars of the CDC, those things, I don't see them. This is a different CDC now. And I don't want to be part of it, so I did resign. So right now, I have made a conscious decision to never and ever join any political party in the Republic of Liberia. I have decided to be an advocate, and so will I remain as I live my life.
Thank you. We're going to come to where do we go from here? But first, let me bring on a caller on the line. Caller, your name. Where are you calling from? Dr. Custom, Liberia, your question or comment?
Well, I have a comment, and the comment is directed towards your co-host. I believe his name is Representative Nangbe Slow.
Correct.
The comment is that the COP, or the Council of Patriots, became relevant because our lawmakers, our representatives, our senators are not doing their job. Their job is to hold the executive to account. And everything that the Council of Patriots has listed in their petition is what the legislators are supposed to be that this government does. But instead, CDC and we have to control everybody, to consolidate, to control everybody, to the legislature, the executive, and then to weaken all the men in Liberia in that they know that if you stand up, they're going to go after you. We shouldn't allow that, because the more we allow that, the more we're creating a dictatorship. And the threat that the president made to Liberians, in that if they insult him, they'll disappear from the street, they'll come after him. I think that was wrong. And they're advising the president, they're misleading him and doing him a disservice. So, in essence, in short, I believe that the protest was a success because it was a large show of force of our people petitioning their government. The government knows what the petition is. They don't need a piece of paper to tell them what the problems are. The market women have been complaining about the economy, the dollar rate, and the fact that they can't send their kids to school, they can't feed themselves and whatnot. The government needs to do something about that. You can't keep blaming the prior government. You can't keep blaming the opposition. You can't keep calling people names and talking about the campaign and being in campaign mode and having this groupthink mentality. They need to get out of that. We need an adult in the room with President Garguah. Tell President Garguah what the issues are. He needs to govern. He needs to be a leader and stop being like a little kid. We need to grow up in that country. That is my comment.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kula. We got Mr. Slaw will respond. You can take your answer off the air.
All right, Dr. Kula, I agree with you. In the little 55 years that God has blessed me with, I have not seen nor heard of any legislature as weak and as useless as the one I serve in currently. I'm not proud of it. I wish I had a solution, but we are 73.
All right. That leads us to our next step. Is we had a protest yesterday. There was one in DC also. Where do we go from here? Robert, I know you're not an organizer, but what do you see as the way forward?
Well, I'm on the side of peace, and like I stated earlier, I believe in constructive dialogues. But let me digress a little bit. We have to be very, very careful. I think one of the callers talked about respect. One of the issues that we have, even on social media, is the fact that we see people who have a different opinion as enemies, especially opinions that are political. Politics and differences should not be seen as enemies. And I think we create this mindset of war. We see everything as war. I think one of my friends on social media, Mr. Williams, always say, protest is not war, right? Well, engaging in disagreements on issues are not war. And I think the legislature goes to that all the time. There will always be disagreements, but we must always remember that we have one common denominator, which is our country, Liberia. We all love Liberia, but we have different perspective on how we move forward and what we think is best for the country. This is when the people comes after listening to our respective plan or vision and say, you know what, I think I'd rather this vision than the other. So we have to be able to engage constructively without personal attacks, without disrespect. I wasn't at the protest at the embassy, but I did see some disrespect. We have to engage, devoid our emotions, and just talk about the issues. I believe that all of us are educated enough. Even some of us are not very smart. We are educated enough to make our points very eloquently, without personal attacks, without disrespect, and without insult. And I have to give my colleague, my co-guest credit. I don't know this gentleman, but and I said I've sensed a little bit of bias and hypocrisy in some of his positions. but I respect the fact that he's able to make his points very eloquently, very clearly, without personal attacks and without anything else. So it's very, very important. Now, with regards to the president accepting the awards, I wrote something. Like I said, I like to think out the box. So I wrote something 3 days before the protest, and I said, I think that the president should be able to go and pick up and accept the petition under one condition, and that condition would have been if he was allowed to speak. Of course, we understand the security issues, but we have to also understand that our president is our leaders. Every citizen is not going to agree with the president, right? And we have our security apparatus in Liberia who could have put in place some security measures to ensure that. But I believe that had the president wanted to accept this award, this petition, it would have turned. It could have been an opportunity where the world is watching, and the world would have seen a president who probably they would have given the protest a whole different picture. And I don't think the organizers or the leaders of the protest wanted that. But like the representative said, and others have said, it doesn't matter who came to accept the protest. What matters most are the demands and actions that can be taken for us to move forward. So let me answer your question. What's next? I think that, and I'll be very blunt, I think that the fact that the petition wasn't presented yesterday was done strategically on the part of the leaders, not the people that were protesting, because we know what the issues are, like the gentleman said. And the question I want to ask is, since we know what the issues are and the protest is done without the petition done, should we not expect the government to just move forward? Does the petition, the presentation of the petition, does it really matter at this point? Some within the COP will say, of course, until we present our petition, it doesn't matter what this president does. Until we present our petition, until they meet our demands, it doesn't really matter. But if the president, the government is aware of the people's issues, and we heard loud and clear what the issues are yesterday, does it really matter at this point if a petition is presented? I don't think it matters. But I do think that in the interest of the people, and not those who are leading the protests, not that personal interest, in the interest of the people and in the interest of us addressing their needs, I think it was very important for them to have presented that thing. I foresee that we are going to see another protest, because I don't think that they will like to behind closed door present that petition. I think if they wanted to do that, they would have done that when the invitation came the first time, when they met with the president and ECOWAS and some leaders of the international community. They would have presented it then. So since they've protested, is it okay now? Are they open to the idea of presenting that petition without a protest? Or do they want to do it openly with the protest? That's a decision that they will have to make. But I think that we're going to see another protest. I think that the government must act with regards to some of the demands. And I think that the top 2 thing on my list that I want to see the government act on will be the economy. I think that this president will do himself a great favor if he gets rid of Simon Tway. That would be a bold step, not only showing leadership from him. And look, I don't know if it's going to happen, but it's not whether or not it's going to happen. I think it's what's best for the country. And this is the problem with our country. We surround ourselves with people who served us, who we are more comfortable with, rather than people who are competent enough to get the job done. But I'm hoping that he resets the button with his economic management team and the central bank governor. And I'm also hoping that we can start getting some address when it comes to corruption in our country. But we are in a democracy. It is incumbent upon the president to lead. We can demand as much as we can demand, but we must not impose upon the president how he sets up his cabinet. We must not do that. This is not an interim government. This is not a peace accord. We must not demand that his entire cabinet is dissolved and that his cabinet includes members of the 4 political parties. That's undemocratic. We would not support that, and that should not be happening. Let's make recommendations, and let's hope that this president makes the right decisions in the interest of our country.
Thank you. And talking about the central bank, now we got this comment on Facebook from J. Niels Bengba. He said there was a post about central bank concerning what can be done for such institution to be viable according to its purpose. I dislike the response from the honorable sitting on the platform. As a seasoned manager, administrator, etc., a lot more can be done at the CBL, including but not limited to reforming that institution and hiring a seasoned manager to enforce such reform. And he is putting himself forward now. I can effect such change without any doubt. I would like to know where can I submit my resume, and his phone number is 586-216-4758. Government of Liberia, if you are listening, you have an application right here on Focus on Liberia. Mr. Sieh?
Send it to townchief@aol.com.
All right.
Townchief, one word, at aol.com.
So the honorable representative.
It's not a guarantee you'll get a job, but I can promise you the right persons will get it.
And it's happening right here on Focus on Liberia. So if you are here too watching and you have interest, because when you spoke eloquently, Robert, about the economic management team, the economy. If the president can take some concrete steps, and one of the things he said in his speech was he's going to IMF and other international institutions. I believe they are Liberians competent enough to put these things together. So let me go back to you, Mr. Sieh, as to see what's the way forward. Are we going to see more of the protests, or you are demanding some concrete steps? What do you see on the horizon, both from the Council of Patriots and also the Movement for Justice in Liberia?
There will be more protests going forward because protest is necessary. Protests are necessary in any democracy to hold our leaders accountable until we can begin to see those things that need to be done to better the lives of our people. Robert said something earlier. He said that, yeah, I showed some honesty and I want to commend him for that compliment. But he also said that I've been biased to some extent. I don't know if I can say that about him, but that is his opinion. But to the issue, going forward, the president needs to act. And Robert said that, and I want to commend him for saying that. And that is it. The president needs to act. The reason why we are talking about protests right now is we don't have a president who is willing to lead. That's why we have protests in the first place. And here's the thing also. People are trying to hinge the government performance on a petition as though the Council of Patriots are the economic advisors, are the economic management team for the government. This government claims to have an economic management team. Let them go to work and work for the Liberian people instead of stealing it. So let me make it clear here. This government does not necessarily need the petition that they already have to be given to them in a publicized faction when the very government tried to suppress the people's ability to do so. The government cut down the internet. They shut it down. You think the government was ready to receive that petition? It was because the people challenged the government and the government were compelled to show up to do so. In conclusion, going forward, the government must act. The government know what needs to be done. They heard from all of us. Samuel 12 must go. They must audit. The first lady must be taken out of our budget. We want the war crime court. The economy is bad. The people need to be prosecuted who are indicted in other reports. Those things are known to the government and every Liberian. Even the market woman down Wallasa will tell you that the US rate is affecting businesses in the country. Does the president want to receive the petition formally before he acts on the concerns of Liberians who are suffering, who cannot afford meals for their children, who cannot go to school? Is he waiting for petition? Was he elected to wait for petition from the Council of Patriots before he can do the job for which he was elected? I am saying no. So going forward, there will be more protests because the government does not have ears to listen to the cries of the people, and this government is not ready to lead. So let the government act. There will be more protests to force them to act.
If I can come in,
hold on,
just 1 second.
Robert. Hold
Okay.
on, let me get a caller on the line. This should be our last caller. Caller, your name and where you calling from?
Hello, this is Michael Johnson calling from the U.S.
Michael, your question or comment?
I have two questions for the representative.
Okay.
Very short question, you know.
Sure. Go ahead.
One has to do with the rule of law because they're supposed to be the lawmaker, but many times we observe, and I can see on Facebook, that a representative going to work or going about his normal business, he has a convoy and then driving on the wrong side of the road with a siren. They're supposed to make law and then supposed to, you know, enforce the law. So why are they doing that?
Okay.
That's one. And number two has to do with the monetary issue in our country. Now, Liberian dollar is supposed to be the number one currency in Liberia. So why can't they pass law if there's a problem with the U.S. rate? Why can't they pass law that the Liberian currency is a legal currency in Liberia? And the business people supposed to sell their commodity, their goods in the Liberian dollars. And people who are working in Liberia are supposed to get paid in Liberian dollars. They have been paid in Liberian dollars, exception of the representative or officials of the government. And these people, these poor people, they're paying their rent, their renters, let's say buying their goods in US dollar. Why it has to be like that?
Thank you, sir. Honorable Slow.
I know if the questions are going to be long, we're going to sleep here. But in any case, let me start with the last one. Why we can't pass law to say business people should sell their goods in Liberian dollars. Those are economic decisions for the president and his economic management team, not something to pass law on, okay? So we've been having the dual currencies forever. And I am told by the economists that we don't have the resources to choose one currency over the other. I mean, don't take my word to the market for that. I already disclaimed I'm not an economist. But if anything like that came on the floor of the House, I will definitely vote for it. He said we are the only persons taking pay in US. That information is as far from the truth as Pluto is from Earth. All Liberian government employees earn US dollars, all ALL. In fact, the entire budget is passed in US dollars. There's no Liberian portion to the budget.
And the last question is the rule of law. You say you drive on the wrong side of the road and put on your siren.
Again, I would not say it's not true because I've seen some of my colleagues do it. It is not the norm, but like in every society, you have deviants.
Right. So
there's a lot of legislators who do that.
So lawmakers have become lawbreakers.
If you say lawmakers, then I'm inside. Somebody needs to take a picture of my car to say, I once drove in the wrong side. Firstly, I don't speed and I don't go in wrong lane because if anything happens, I should be held responsible.
I will, a caller on the line, caller, you'll be our last caller. And I want to say that for you. Just be very brief, 30 seconds, your name and where you're calling from.
How you doing, Mr. John Dennis? This is Garguah. From Chicago, Illinois.
Your name again?
Garguah from Moore District.
Oh, Garguah from Moore District. Your question or comment?
Yeah, first I want to commend the guests. I think they have been doing a great job. However, I'm glad that you have a lawmaker on the show today. You know, the issue of brother Mr. Sieh mentioned, the issue of George Weah White being in our budget. We just have to keep in mind that the government is not just George Weah. The government has three branches. The legislature is part of that branches. Once they approve a bill or budget, that
is law. So now we need to be asking them, what made them approve a bill where the first lady has an office, whereas some of the Liberian dollar would be allocated to a first lady rather than it coming out of the first office. So these are things that I think a lot of our guys, our brothers and sisters that are protesting, and some of the petition, or reading some of the, I don't know whether that's the actual petition that was leaked, but some of the, what was presented in it is called for, but a lot of we need to focus our petition to a specific branch of government. You know, we can't be asking president to remove what was passing the law. You know, we need to ask the legislator, why did they even approve that in the first place? But thank you all, and we're following the story, and hopefully we will continue to have peaceful protests in Liberia and demand our government to take its people seriously.
Thank you, Gakan. And there's a comment here too on Facebook that I want to read, which also go in line with the last words. Agostino Monplese, I was against the protest because of the same behavior the president exhibited on June 7. He has even aggravated the organizers more. My take is, Liberian, you succeeded. He saw you, he heard you. Be patient, he will do something. And if not, the next protest should be at the ballot box. They will better understand. Some people are saying, and to both of you, that the best protest is at the ballot box. And most of the issue raised should be campaign issue that can be used at the ballot box to unseat not just the president, but also legislators. What do you say to that?
Before they come in, let me talk about the First Lady's budget business. Okay. Personally, I don't see anything wrong with the First Lady having a budget. And I will not vote for any bill to remove or any action to remove the First Lady from the budget. What she does with the money is what should matter to us. If she's taking it to build her personal houses and buying flashy cars and doing personal stuff, fine. But the First Lady, the money we put in the budget for the First Lady is supposed to be intended for social services, for young girls who have, who need access to education, to other social services. So let us look at what she is supposed to do and whether she's doing those, rather than she has an office in the Foreign Affairs Ministry where the president's office is. She's on the 5th floor, the president on the 6th floor. She got staff. They get paid. Okay? So again, let us look at what she's supposed to do, and if she's doing it, she's like any other spending institution, she should be audited to make sure that the money allotted to her office is well utilized. I think that should be our concern.
Right. And we are drawing down, so I ask a question. Please use 1 minute to answer that, and also your last word or your concluding statement. Final thoughts. Let me start with you, Mr. Sieh.
Again, thank you. I'm glad that the honorable man was able to say something on the issue of the First Lady being in our budget. From what I just heard from him, he said it is not illegal in any manner and form for the First Lady to be in the budget. To be honest, I felt that should not have been done. I will do my research on that, but this is what I'm going to say to that. We have a president who has refused vehemently to never and ever audit Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. We have a president who commissioned or instructed audits that are on his desk and cannot implement those very audits. And this is the man who's going to audit his wife. And this is the man who, when his wife is found guilty of any wrongdoing, will be able to do what is right. This man cannot even persecute Nathaniel Petrie and Samuel Twe. This man could not even prosecute Bernie Samuka, who misappropriated our AFL pension money. This man could not prosecute officials then Anoka, including Ellen Johnson Sirleaf's son, Robert, who can't run no car.
Brother Sieh. No, one second. You see, there are institutions created by law that should go after people, whether the president wants it or not, whether he knows about it or not. The General Auditing Commission does not need presidential directive or presidential knowledge to come after me or you or any other person, any institution. The same thing with what the commission that Mr. Velia or Harry? LSCC. Two of them do not, NOT, do not need any presidential directive, any legislative, the law creating them. If you look at it, they can just look at you and say, we suspect that you're doing something wrong. Just the way you dress and all of that. That's some of the things some of us have problem with. But they don't need any instruction. They don't need any, so to say the president will not, because he didn't audit somebody, so he will not audit his wife. The GSC and the LSCC can just get out one morning and say, Madam First Lady, day after tomorrow, we are in your office. Tell your chief accountant, tell whoever there in charge of finance, this and that, to make available XYZ records.
Right. But I think the problem with that some of the protesters are presenting to is they don't trust the institutions.
But what we'll do now, they are the ones we have. Dissolve them. Because you put dr.nya there, they will not trust. You put me there, they will not trust.
So, Mr. Sieh, what do we do?
Yeah, thank you. So to conclude, we know that when these institutions complete their work, and if there are anything, or if there are things that are incriminating, when people are indicted in those reports, the names of those individuals won't be sent to the Justice Ministry for prosecution. But we also know that we do not have that kind of Justice Minister who knows his function. We have a Justice Minister who will cover everything for the president and to protect him and his officials in assignment to act. So I will leave it at that.
GSC did 75 audits. GSC did 75 audits under Madam Salif. And those reports were sent to the president today. They have not been acted upon. They were not judged where. 75 audits. Now, we may have qualms with how Mr. Molu and other people did their audits. That's a different argument. But those audits were not conducted by this current government. 75. They were submitted to the executive. They have not been implemented.
Are you coming from Liberia?
No, I'm calling from Paris.
Okay. Because you are from Paris, we want to give you 30 seconds. Your name, question, or comment.
30 seconds.
Just go ahead.
Yes, I just want to take this time to congratulate President Weah and the government, most especially the Liberia National Police, for conducting themselves orderly, taking care of the protests. We saw how calm it is. But my disappointment is I don't know why the Council of Patriots did not submit their petition yesterday, because the demand was not justifiable. They know some of those guys that they were demanding that release committed crimes. We have just seen that they have been forwarded to court for process for investigation. So, and just a quick to quote, I listened to the Al Jazeera reporter. He was reporting on the protest in Liberia. In the end of that video, he said the members or the planners of the protest, they are not people who actually in favor of the country. They are doing it for their own political gains, knowing from the background they come from, the NPFL, or then they started showing videos of how the war was fought in Liberia. When we talk about Bedina Ure, who was part of the protest, one of the people who stole Liberian wealth from the maritime agency during the Charles Taylor regime. If you talk about Sandra Johnson, those are people who actually, for their own political gain, are the part of this thing. So I hope that the Liberian people, and the tenor was huge, but it was not surprising because I know Joseph Boakai won over 100,000+ votes in Montserrat alone. So, anyway, again, it's a wake-up call to the Liberian government. President, we need to put some things in order to make sure to calm down this high economic problem that people are saving. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And your name again?
My name is Frank Gibson. I'm calling from Paris.
Frank Gibson, thank you so much for your call. And so on that note, we will now be bringing down the curtains officially. But for the respect of our guests, we want to give each of you 30 seconds, starting with my co-host, 30 seconds, and then we go to our guests and 30 seconds and conclude.
I think yesterday Liberia won. Democracy added another age, another day to the age. I think we should continue down that path. People have the right under the law to demonstrate if they want to, as long as people recognize that where their rights stop or begin is where another person's right, also start. Yesterday the government won, the Liberian people won, the protesters won, except the missed opportunity of giving this paper to somebody. And what I think should happen now is the organizers, the chiefs, should now ask for a meeting with the president, reduce the crowd so that, you can get substance out of that number in the streets. The president can just come down and say, all right, I receive your thing, I'll talk to you all later. That's not a solution. I want a round table like the one that they had that didn't produce results. We can still go back there now that we have some stuff in writing. Some of us are available to arrange that kind of meeting. I'm not one of the best friends of the president, but he respects me, I respect him. So if need be, I can arrange that meeting. There are other people in Liberia who can arrange it. And I don't think he's refusing to meet with the leadership of the Council of Patriots. So we can take it from there.
Mr. Garguah, your final thoughts.
Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Well, thank you so much for the invitation, extended men. I think we had a very great discussion about the issues. I want to make one last point. I think that Garguah came and said something very great, and it's something that I've preached over and over. We have to, I know the president is given so much power as it stands, but we have to not only engage the president. We have three branches of government. We have institutions that are set up to address different things. Now, the question whether or not those institutions are independently functioning, that's something that we have to address. Because the president is so powerful, you can't really, his relationship with the legislature and lawmakers might be a little different. Now, I also believe that we need serious voters education in the country. And I know during the last election, because of my humanitarian work, I'm constantly home. It was something that I was engaged in. I said I was not going to support any candidate, but I was going to go back home and help in educating Liberians on the process of electing their leaders. We don't talk about issues that are important to us. We have to start talking about issues. Protest is not the best way to hold our leaders accountable all the time. I think we have to start holding our leaders accountable, like one of the callers or the comments said, at the ballot box. And so if President William made all these promises, if any other representative or lawmaker made any promises, and over a period of time, they have not fulfilled those promises, our people have to go back and say, wait a minute, you said you was going to do this, Mr. President, you didn't. And so now you failed us. We're going to move forward with someone else. And that's just what it is. But in whatever we do, we have to understand that we must keep the peace. We have to understand that we must improve our democracy. And we have to understand that we must show respect to each other regardless of our disagreements. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Mr. Sieh.
Mr. Garguah, when you come to my district?
I will be home at the end of this year.
Humanitarian wise now, not just to go visit.
Send me your number. Let's talk. We can get something done.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Again, I want to say thank you for this invitation. I'm humbled by it. I did not expect this to come my way. You took me out of my comfort zone on the issue. The protest was a huge success. Other than Rawa, who believe that protest is not the best way to hold our leaders accountable, I disagree. I believe that protest is the best way to hold our leaders accountable. But I also agree that holding them accountable through election is another way. And the reason I disagree with that is that if you wait for 6 years before you can let your leaders know that they are misbehaving in terms of governance, do you know how much damage that's going to be done along the way? We have a child who has not eaten. We have a child who is not in school. You want us to wait 6 years down the road before we hold the leaders accountable who's supposed to make decisions that's supposed to change that weed is not right? You want us to wait until 6 years down the road before we can get a hospital renovated? I said, no, protest is the best way to do so. All we can say here is that it must be peaceful. It must be respectful. That we can emphasize. And to conclude further, the president needs to act. This flimsy excuse that, oh, we don't have a petition, so we can't act on the issues that are known to him and his officials, issues that we have articulated, the Council of Petros have articulated, even his own officials know, they talk about these things among themselves. He's waiting for a petition? No, he should not wait for that. Jah, thank you for the opportunity. I hope that we can do this sometime again in the future.
Jah, let me clarify, please.
Recommend a Minister of Finance.
I know we don't have one time, but let me clarify, just for clarity, the purpose of clarity, Mr. Son, I did not say that protest is not. Sieh, I'm sorry. I did not say that protest is not the best way. I said not always the best way. And by the way, if talking about people who's not in school, people who haven't eaten, I've been privileged for the past 7 years to have directly spoken to those people constantly. And what I've always said, I said it during Ellen's time, and I will say it now, and even whoever takes office next. Government cannot solve or does not have the policies, does not have the resources to solve all of our problems. Regardless of the policies government put in place, be it education or economic, there will be someone somewhere who does not have food to eat. Are we going to go in the street and protest because someone don't have food to eat all the time? Or are we also going to take responsibility? Citizens have a responsibility to help improve the lives and help that government grow. And so while we protest, while we hold our government accountable, we must also understand and look in the mirror and say, wait a minute, what am I doing as a Liberian citizen, regardless of what it is, to impact the lives of our people? We can't always just.
I don't think Mr. Sieh disagree about that.
I don't think he does. I'm just making that point, not just for him, but for our listeners. And so, protest is good, but
we're looking for solutions for our problem.
Exactly. Okay. Protest is good, but protest is very costly. And I think that if there are opportunities to dialogue and engage other ways without getting in the streets, I think we should take those opportunities. But I'm not against protest at all. I respect it 100%.
Okay, Robert and Ansony, solutions to our problem, yes or no question. Both of you, are you willing, ready, if called upon today, to go and help Mr. Weah anywhere in the government?
No.
Okay. Well, it's not a yes or no question for me.
Are you willing, available?
I'm willing to help. I'm willing to help Liberia in any way.
It's a yes.
Yeah, it's a yes. I'm willing to help. But wait, just what I'm gonna say.
Robert,
I can't work.
Robert, it's a yes or no question.
Okay. I'm willing to help.
You keep trying to clarify, and now you want to hijack.
I'm willing to.
Okay. Thank you,
gentlemen.
Thank you.
It was a wonderful post-mortem of the June 7th.
Let's link up. Let's link up. Okay.
Okay, bro.
Yeah, that's what we are. So I want to thank you, gentlemen, so much for your time. We really, really appreciate it. And this is not the end of the discussion. This is just the beginning of our national dialogue. At the end of the day, we all want peace. We all want what is best for Liberia. And that came out in the discussion today, even from those that are on Facebook Live. Indeed, people have the right to protest. People have the right to demand their government to act in a certain way. And we expect the government to act, because government was put in place for our benefit, for our own good. So I want to thank you all so much. I want to thank our folks on Facebook and other social media platforms who participated in the discussion. Tomorrow, our series on the war, the Liberian Civil War, is going to continue. We'll have survivors coming on to tell their story. Want all of you to still tune in. Until then, from my guest co-host, Honorable Slaw, say thank you so much.
Thank you.
My co-host Danielle Knuckles-guishard, who is not here, and also my guest relations manager, Stephanie Setro, and all of us from the first Focus on Liberia family. I want to say thank you so much. Good night, and God bless you.
See, I'll be in Minnesota on Friday.
And you will hear from me.
Thank you.